there are so many things. That's a great story
Mm,
because there are so many things that we carry forward that have just been these traditions, right? And it's okay to what I'll say challenge those traditions, right? Not challenge in a way that's going to be disruptive, but ask the question, why why do we communicate this way? Right? Why when we get together, the resolution always has to kind of, take these 6 steps versus, you know, there's a lot easier path. We got 3 steps that we can get there. Welcome to Leadership Sovereignty. I'm your host, Terry Baylor, along with Ralph Owens. And in this final episode of Emotional Intelligence, geared towards your personal growth, we'll review self awareness, resilience, and well being. Enjoy the show.
And we are live. Back again. Terry, how you feeling?
Hey, man, I'm giving it everything I got to make sure that I can articulate the winning side of life.
Oh, that's good. That's good. That's tweetable. That is
You know what I'm
tweetable.
saying, man? It's a lot going on, man. I had, someone call me today and just share, um, you know, so here's the thing, right? Emotional intelligence is so important because there are so many things we don't control, right? And so someone's calling me about the things that they don't control. And I'm like, you know what? Stay at peace,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
Because there's so many things we don't control, man. I mean, people doing things for all kind of reasons,
So true.
right?
So true.
They say, we like a family. Right, don't treat me like your family did.
Right.
But and people. There's a lot going on in the country. People are stressed. You know, just all kind of things going on. But if you can stay at peace, and I believe the base of that peace is anchored in EQ, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because we can't control the scenarios,
That's true. That's
you
true.
know,
That's true. Pastor
but we
Joe,
can't control how we. I'm sorry, but we can control how we react.
that's the only thing you have control over. That is the only thing you have control over.
That's
Pastor
right.
Joe says it like this. He says, your place of peace is your place of power.
Oh boy, that's good.
If you can maintain your peace, you can maintain your power.
Wow.
Yeah.
Man, that's real good right there. Wow, there's a lot in that.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep. Yeah.
Yeah, because
Absolutely.
again, right, you control what you say,
Mhm.
right? You control what you do. You control the action and the reaction,
Yep. Yep.
right? I know one of the techniques we talk about sometimes when the situation is going on, just talk softly.
Yes.
Because
Absolutely.
when you talk soft, you know what people do? They lean in.
That's right. They got to match you. Yeah. 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 It's good. It's a great technique. It's a great technique. Yeah. Yeah.
So again, I'm excited about today's show.
Awesome. 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 So this is episode 5 of how emotional intelligence can transform your leadership. So we're going to talk about personal growth today. First topic is emotional intelligence and self-awareness. So understanding your strengths and weaknesses. Terry, what comes to mind for you when you think about, EQ and being self-aware of your own strengths and weaknesses?
Yeah, I mean, you got to know you, right? No one knows you better than you. I think I've talked about this in the past, but there's an exercise that I do, in the morning. Sometimes I do it in the evening. I'll just get in the mirror, right? And I look in the mirror. And I'm not just looking at my silhouette, so to speak, right? I think a lot of times when we look in the mirror, we're looking really at the external us, right? But I look in the mirror and I look directly into my eyes. The Bible says that your eyes are the gateway to your soul, right? So I look into my eyes and I'm like, hey, who are you? Who do you want to be? Right? What is your purpose? What is driving you? Right? And I have these kind of internal self conversations. And then I state, Terry, this is who you are. This is who you are designed to be. This is your purpose on earth, to serve those on earth, for the betterment of the kingdom of God, right? Here's the thing, man. If we can align our what and why to our purpose, that will help, man, fortify and give you some direction in terms of, what kind of person, what kind of personality, what kind of character do you want to show out there? Right? All these little techniques are really crucial to really get beyond what I'll call that outer surface of who we are. Right?
Mhm. Yeah, no, it's good.
So
Yeah, it's real good. It's real good. Um, I know for me, when you talk about understanding your strengths and weaknesses with EQ, it really speaks to putting myself in situations where I know I could succeed, right? And avoiding putting myself in situations where I know I may have a weakness in, right? Um, there may be certain conversations that you may not do well with because of issues in your past or things of that nature. Having the ability to use EQ to understand your emotions when topics like that come up allow you to put yourselves in situations where you can win and you don't have to worry about reacting a certain way and things of that nature. So if you don't understand your own and your own emotions, then how can you avoid those situations, right? Or look for the opportunities for your strengths to shine. So that's a really good one. What about setting goals and achieving personal growth, right? What comes to mind for you there with
I think
EQ?
that's at the core. Yeah, yeah. I think that's at the core, really, Ralph, of what leadership sovereignty is all about.
Mhm.
Right? It is getting better each day. And I'll just give, an anecdotal, um, real life scenario, right? So my wife tells me all the time, Terry, you come from a big family. So you tend to interrupt people when you're in a conversation. I work really hard on that, to wait. Now, I never saw it from that perspective, but it makes sense, right? When you have six brothers and two sisters, that's a big conversation, when you guys get together for holidays and whatnot. And I'm sure there's something about that experience over the length of my life that when I am in conversation, yeah, it's something that didn't really pay attention to or notice, but it's something that I actively work on, like to this day, when I'm speaking with someone. Wait, let them finish their thought, right? And not waiting to respond. But yeah, I mean, just getting better, right? To your point about understanding your strengths and weaknesses, right? So there are certain scenarios that we're going to be in that we can't control, right? There are going to be certain triggers that we have, and we know that those are our triggers. Some of them may be based in a life experience, right? Some of them may be based in a pattern that we were just born in. Right, and so we have to be aware that, "Oh, okay, hey, just because your family does it, doesn't mean it's right."
That's right. That's good. Right, right, right.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, someone told the story, and my wife told me this. I'm sure, Rob, you may have heard it too. But the story goes, someone was cooking a roast, right? And they were like, "Why did you cut why did you cut the butt off the roast?" Well, because Grandma cut the butt off, and so we've been doing it for generations. As a matter of fact, Ralph, you may have even told me this story. And then they went, "Well, let's go ask great granny why they." Oh man, great grandma cut the butt off the roast because the pans were too small.
Right.
Right? I
Right,
mean,
right, yeah.
and so there are so many things. That's a great story because there are so many things that we carry forward that have just been these traditions, right? And it's okay to, what I'll say, challenge those traditions, right? Not challenge in a way that's going to be disruptive, but ask the question, why why do we communicate this way? Right? Why when we get together, the resolution always has to kind of take these 6 steps versus, you know, there's a lot easier path. We got 3 steps that we can get there. So
Right, right.
I think it's okay. And then I'll say this, right? I think the biggest lesson for me in that is, and I'm still learning things, right? When you are in a relationship, of course, marriage is one of the easiest ones to, find this out. But even in friendships, right? You're gonna find out that there are patterns and things that in relationships people do that may grate you the wrong way. And you're like, oh, that's uncomfortable. Well, when you start getting down to the bottom of it, it's just that family or whomever had a different pattern.
Mhm,
So,
mhm. Yeah, that's good. That's really good. That's really good. I love how you talked about, just the whole interrupting thing, right? And making it a goal for yourself. I'm going to become better in this area, right? That's what it takes, right? Is being real with yourself, right? Looking at your emotions, using EQ to analyze your emotions, and saying, okay, this is something that I can get better in, right? For me, it was I think for me, I think for me, it was in marriage, it was not listening to just to be ready to say my part, right? Because you could be in a conversation and you're not listening to anything the other person's saying. I'm just waiting to say my part because I think I'm right,
hmm
right?
hmm
But
hmm
thoughtfully listening and active listening as they call it, and really asking deeper questions, to get a better understanding, right? That was something that I had to really work on. Um,
sure.
because I like to move fast, and sometimes things don't move fast, right? You got to slow down and take the time to
Yes, sir.
observe. So that's good. It's good. So let's go to the next one. Emotional intelligence and resilience. So overcoming challenges and setbacks, right? So first thing that came to mind for me when I read that was, um, it is not what happens to you that's most important. It's what you do after what happens that's most important, right? You can have a bad incident, and to Terry's point, he kinda opened up with it. You cannot control what other people do. You can't. It is 100% out of your control, and some of us think that we have the power to control what other people do, and we do not. God did not give us that power. But what we have 100% complete control over is how we respond to the things that come to us or the things that happen to us. So, by using emotional intelligence, you can change your outlook and perspective and context on how or what happened to you in a positive direction that allows you to overcome that challenge and that setback, right? Because those are the things that are completely within your control to do. But Terry, what comes to mind for you? When we talk about overcoming challenges and setbacks with EQ.
Yeah, here's the thing. Any challenge that you are facing, n- I would say the number one thing we can do as it relates to EQ is to look at that challenge as an opportunity, right?
Good.
I think that is one of the biggest areas of growth that we all can probably um, work on. Because typically we look at a challenge or a setback as something that is holding us back, something that's keeping us from something. Here's the thing, right? I've been, studying um this lesson about that very thing, right? And so the um the orator of the lesson I'm listening to, he frames it like this, right? Anytime a sword is made, right? It's tempered, it's gone through the fire,
Right.
and it's tested,
Mhm.
right? So that testing proves that it's ready for its purpose. Think of it this way. If there's a challenge that you are facing or there is a setback that has occurred, look at, and this is an element of EQ, right? Because our emotional intelligence around dealing with um, challenging situations is going to be key, because we're going to act out of whatever it is we're experiencing, right? But if you can look at that experience as, oh, I'm being forged, I'm being proven, right? This is a scenario that's or experience that I'm in that is growing me, right? So when you face any type of challenge, so now it may not be something internal, it may be something external, it may be a person. So when you look at that scenario as, oh, okay, this is an opportunity for me to grow and be forged as a stronger leader, right? This may be an opportunity for empathy, right? This may be an opportunity to challenge, right? Ralph, just to kind of go back to um, the dreaded drama triangle, right? Right. And so one of the biggest things that we can do in those challenging moments is to not see ourselves as a victim,
That's
right? So we have some opportunities, right? I can be a challenger. Most importantly, I can be a creator. I can create out of any scenario or situation that I'm in,
yeah,
right? Because creativity is my most powerful tool.
sure is. That's awesome. That is awesome. That is awesome, man. That is fantastic. Building resilience through emotional regulation. By regulating our emotions, we can build resilience that we can come to count on and depend on ourselves, right? I think it's a powerful, experience when you start to regulate your own emotions and you now become more resilient for yourself first, which then allows you to become more resilient for others. But I mean, what are your thoughts on that, too?
Wow, Ralph, I think that is tremendous resilience for yourself. I think there's no greater um, power from a human standpoint, right? Other than, of course, the power of God. But when you can rely on yourself,
Mm,
that's a that's a pretty that's a pretty heavy statement, right? I can rely on myself in situations of stress or situations of high concentration, situations that are demanding. I can rely on myself to respond
right.
emotionally correct.
Yes.
Right now, emotionally correct doesn't necessarily saying the perfect thing, but it does mean the room is being managed properly, right?
Mm,
It's not saying you have to be a perfect human being, but
right.
what we are saying is that the energy in the room,
Yes.
right, is being properly managed because some things you're figuring out as you go,
Right.
right? Some scenarios are new,
Hmm.
right? Some situations are new, but because you've been practicing, and some of the key things that we talked about earlier, right? You've been practicing spiritual health, right? You've been practicing physical health. You've been practicing mental health, right? You've been practicing relational health. So when you get into these situations, now you can draw from that,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So your senses, your ability to sense what's happening. Because here's the thing, right? We're talking to leaders here.
Right.
And in these scenarios, people are looking to you for um, the balance, right? To maintain the equilibrium in the room,
That's right.
right? Because things are going to rise,
That's
right?
right.
Temperatures are going to rise.
Yeah. Yeah. That's right.
How do we manage it?
Yeah. Yeah. That's good. Oh man, that's some good. That's really really good. That's really really good. I mean, and then moving into the last major point about emotional intelligence and well being, right? The connection between emotional intelligence and mental health. I believe that strongly regulated emotions produce a stable mental health, right? Because when you are not a slave to your emotions and
Mm,
you just have to just pop off and do whatever your emotions come to mind and you actually regulate them, you have a more stable mental environment and results in a stable mental health. But like, what are your Your thoughts on that, Terry?
Yeah, I believe you saying who you want to be or who you're going to be is a part of that, um, is a part of that mental health, right? Because here's the thing, we are becoming, right? We are developing, always growing, always learning. And so when you practice who you want to be, practice saying who you want to be, right? So just like if you want to get some certification, you tell yourself, I'm going to get this certification.
That's right.
Well, when you start speaking that over yourself, then your consciousness, your subconscious, all the things that you are start to act towards that, start to move towards that.
Yes.
So if you start saying, I am going to be a person that operates with EQ, I'm going to be a person of high character. I'm going to let my character match my capacity and my skill level, right? When you start speaking that, then your being starts to move towards that. You start to create that picture, right? And so I love one of my favorite books that I've bought. Man, I probably bought 6 or 7 copies of this. Is the book that Joel wrote, the I Am book, right? And so when you start saying what you are,
Yeah.
you start moving towards that very thing,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Because again, I'm always going to go back to, my anchor is the Bible, and so one of the uh, uh, techniques in there, or one of the things that it says about is, look, what you say you are, that's what you're going to be, right? So as a man speaketh, so is he.
So is he.
Out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks, right?
Yep.
So if you're saying, I am kind,
Hmm.
I am courteous, I am thoughtful, right? I am a strong leader. I am a leader with integrity.
Yeah.
I'm a leader with high character.
Hmm. Yeah.
I'm a leader that shows empathy,
Mm. Yes.
right? I'm a leader with balance. I am not a leader with over um, character, right? And lack skill set, right? Because now I'm going to open compensate on the people side of things.
Right. Yeah.
I am a balanced leader. So, yeah, I think if we start practicing those things, I think it's key for us as leaders because we carry a lot of, at the end of the day, man, there's a lot on our shoulders,
Yeah. That's right.
right?
That's
There are a
right.
lot of people looking to us for answers. And now it's not that we in and of ourselves have all the answers, right? There's another source. We have, mentors, right? Mentees even kind of sew back into us.
Right.
We have a board of governors that's, um, one of our personal things that our personal board rather, where there are folks that we can go to and say, hey, I haven't seen this situation, can you help me? So all these things help in our mental wellness because we're not carrying that load all by ourselves,
Sure. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So that's where that relational piece um, plays a role. But I think just being balanced. I just have to go back to being balanced and knowing that you don't have. I'm gonna go back to this. I love this. You don't have to know it all. All you have to know is there is an answer.
That's right. That's right. Every day. Every day. You said something that made me think of when you talked about how as a man thinketh, so is he. I believe it was Henry Ford, if I quote this correctly, said, um, a man who believes that he can accomplish something is right. A man who believes that he can accomplish something is also right.
Yes.
You will be
Yes.
what you believe you are.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. That's
Yes.
so
Yeah,
good.
because here's and I'm glad you said the word believe. Because here's what's really key about the word believe, right? Your beliefs are anchored in your convictions. So let's dig deep again, right? What are your convictions? These are the things that control your method of execution and operation, right? At a human level, at a life level. So, you know, really digging into that is going to help us as leaders really understand what our true north is, what's driving us, what's our purpose, what's our passion, right? Are we doing it for ourselves? Are we doing it for the bigger purpose, a bigger vision?
Right. That's good. That's good. It's really good. It's really good. Then finally, promoting emotional well-being and happiness. And the thing that came to mind for me here is we have to prioritize our emotional well-being. We have to prioritize our emotional well-being and our happiness. I came from a family of men who believed in serving God and taking care of their families. Did they prioritize their emotional happiness, emotional well-being? Probably not as much as they could have, right? And I say all that to say, it's not a knock towards them, but you could be so focused on doing a good thing that you miss out on doing the right thing, right? It has to be something that's top of mind for you. Because when it is top of mind for you, then you can do the actions that you need to do to prioritize your emotional well-being. I mean, any thoughts on that, Terry?
Yeah, I'm just gonna say, man, and Ken, I don't wanna I think as an African American man, we have to really focus in on that. Um, because in the seats that we're in, just really being transparent here, we're there's not a lot of us in these seats. And so we feel an extra burden and weight sometimes because we do want to prepare the way for the next generation, right? I had a call a couple weeks ago with a gentleman who's in college, and he's like, Mr. Baylor, I'm taking some classes and got a year left, and really just want to make sure that my career path is in alignment. And he saw what we're doing, aligns with where he wants to go in life, and it really crystallized that for me, that we are creating a pathway, for the next, you know, generation of African American leaders. And because I mean, in my career, man, I just didn't have these conversations.
Right. Yeah.
I didn't hear this stuff. I didn't hear it. I didn't hear it. And so I think it's important that we are intentional about this message. And but it's also important that we are intentional about sticking around.
Mm, mhm. Right.
Because when we're off doing our next set of things, right, those gentlemen can have somewhere to go. And I'm going to refer back to our previous podcast with Lawrence Losco, and we talked about succession planning, and he talked about, in order to do that successfully, you have to have something you're going to. So I think that's also a part of our mental, health and understanding. Okay, guys, we need to be preparing to go to something so we can be around, right, to support the next generation,
Yeah, that's
right?
good. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I agree 100%. We have a responsibility, right, in the seats that we sit. And it's
Yeah.
not just to, ourselves and our families, but for those who come after us. Because there are those who went before us to make sure that we have the opportunity to sit in these seats. So no, absolutely 100% agree. So this was excellent, excellent show. We really dug into some really good nuggets. I think they're really going to help those who are listening and building their careers and things of that nature. So we thank you and appreciate all the listeners, right? Just want to give a heartfelt shout out to those who listen every week. And I'm just gonna throw some names out there. You all won't know who they are, but thank you, Gary. Thank you, Kennedy. Thank you, Regina. Thank you, Renee. All the ones that always reach out to us and always give us great feedback and always support us. Thank you very much. Just want to give you a shout out.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Right. Well, until the next time, be blessed, and we will see you on the next show. Thank you for listening to the Leadership Sovereignty Podcast. If this content blessed or helped you in any kind of way, support us today by subscribing to our YouTube channel, clicking the like button for this episode, and sharing this content with others that you think it will help. Until next time, stay safe, peace, and blessings.